Welcome back to GEMS podcast with Genesis Amaris Kemp. With me today is Julius Johnson, and here's a bit about Julius. He's a young professional in biotech from Denver, Colorado. He's now officially a podcaster who loves to share unpopular opinions on all things and a nerd out on cryptocurrency. And you know, cryptocurrency right now, y'all, it could be a fad or it could be here to stay. So Julius is going to walk us through some toxic tangents and let us know what his thoughts are. And without further ado, welcome Julius Johnson.
Morning. How you doing?
I am doing well. So Julius, your bio was just a bio, but I know you do more than what you put on there. So give us a fun fact about who you are and how you got started and what you're doing now.
Well, fun fact, I kind of joined. It was like a podcasting launch challenge or something. So I decided to join it and see where it went. The reason I decided to start a podcast is because one day I was kind of like, all right, I think I talk a lot of noise, and am I allowed to curse on here?
You could say some, but just be respectful. I'll let you know if it's like too hardcore, but go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, I was like, hey, I talk a lot of noise and I got a lot of unpopular opinions. Some are popular. So I think I should put this on wax, let's see if I can get this to people, see if they want to laugh with me,
Okay. So, being, different and outside of the grain has its pros and its cons. And I truly believe that each one of us was created different for a reason. No one is a robot. I know I'm not trying to be a robot, and I'm sure you're not, Julius. So thank you for just having those unpopular opinions, because they're either going to drive traction and the people who need to hear it are going to chime in, and the people who aren't supposed to hear it are going to fall by the wayside. But it's no disrespect, discount, or discredit to you. It just means that, they're not your tribe or they're not traveling on your wavelength, and it's cool. We have to be okay with being ourselves and being 100% authentic and unique. And I know you like comedy, you dabble in comedy as well as education and cryptocurrency. So let's start unpacking cryptocurrency and why is that important to you? And what are some of the metrics that you've seen where, in your opinion, it has worked for you?
I'm sorry. Ask the first part of that question one more time.
Okay, so I know you dabble in cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to unpack why cryptocurrency is beneficial and how has it worked for you and what are the metrics?
So I think cryptocurrency is important, really, because it's just the future of assets. Not completely, things like gold and silver will always have a lot of value, right? That they're a store of value, and so that's one thing to keep in mind with cryptocurrency. It's digital, right? So if we lose the internet for whatever reason, essentially that's gone, right? But can you really picture a world without the internet? Like I doubt, you know what I'm saying? I doubt the internet's going to go down worldwide anytime soon. So with that being said, it's a really good opportunity for new millionaires to be made. I mean, we see all these new millionaires off of, what's that coin? Dogecoin that Elon Musk is in, and things like that. Why? It's because they invested just a little bit of money early in it, and then all of a sudden, other people started buying into it, and it cleared a few zeros, and now they got money in the bank. So I think it really provides a way for people who don't have much right now to get a piece of the pie before it becomes fully mainstream, right? For instance, I don't know if anybody knows that's listening to this, or if you know that crypto.com, they're putting their name on the now Staples Center in LA. In my opinion, in America, I think that's going to be the official stamp that says crypto is quote unquote mainstream America. That's 5 or so minutes from the financial sector or whatever financial area in downtown LA. So you got you know, millionaires, billionaires driving by that all the time. They're going to see crypto.com, you know? So yeah, just to make I told you I go off on tangents, the name of
No,
my podcast,
so
but, but
I'm
yeah,
going to chime in there really quick, Julius, because that is something that I did not know that they were doing. And by them having crypto.com on, you said the Staples Center, right? In
yeah,
downtown LA, I think that's branded by association, because if your name is up there, that's going to drive in traction, and people are going to see down there and be like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And that may actually drive people to really investigate and research what crypto.com is, or it just may, solidify to your point that, oh, okay, maybe crypto.com is really mainstream and cryptocurrency is here to stay. But, there are some people who, they still want to see proof in the pudding. They don't necessarily want to put their money in electronic things, because they're like, there's other things where I can invest in, like real estate. I can invest in, oil. I can invest in solar, or whatever the case may be. So did you have a influential person in your life that told you, Julius, I want you to look at cryptocurrency and really study it? And if you see it as something beneficial for you, then join us. If not, then so be it.
probably a few coworkers in the past. No, nobody specifically that was just always in my ear, like, yo, you got to do this, you got to do this. But I definitely remember a guy that I worked with probably like 5-6 years ago. He had some Bitcoin, and if you did or did not know, at that time, Bitcoin was what, a few hundred or something. Don't quote me on that, but you can look up the price. Now, it's about 60,000. So just to tell you right there, I should have listened to him way back then. But it's really over time, you hear more and more people talking about it. And then, I started researching on my own. It was just Google search, and then slowly I'm like, hey, these guys might be on to something, especially when you look at how different markets are. And yeah, it's kind of hard to pass it up after you get further into it.
Okay. And knowing what you know now and thinking about your old coworker who told you about Bitcoin, are you guys still connected in any way? Have you reached out to him to let him know, hey, I should have listened to you. I'm actually doing investments now in Bitcoin and doing a lot in the cryptocurrency world?
I actually haven't had contact with him since I worked with him, but I'm sure if I ran into him, we'd be talking about a lot of things. He was one of those people that has a lot of high level conversations. So I'm sure that would be one of them if we ran into each other again.
Okay. And then speaking about where you are now outside of cryptocurrency, I know you're in the biotech industry. Are you still in that industry right now? And what about that industry drew you in? And then, yeah, and I'll ask the next question.
I am still in that industry. I would say what drew me in is I was in the food safety industry before. So just a little background behind that. Any food that you consume, like there has to be some type of process through the FDA to, make sure it's approved, et cetera, et cetera. So I was in that industry, but I don't know, it just really wasn't appealing. Pretty mundane routine. So I'm looking at, the biotech industry with medicine, pharmaceuticals, all that. It's something that's not going to go away. I was one of the people that was blessed to not lose their job in any type of way over the pandemic. So, and that's another thing that just solidified the reason why I need to stay in this industry. So basically I was thinking long-term, like what's stable and what's going to hold me down.
Yeah, sustainable. Because I was in oil and gas, and I actually got laid off from a Fortune 500 company that I worked at for 7.5 years. And I've been in oil and gas for 12 years, but in corporate America for 15 years. And, oil and gas is very simple. It's like when it's good, you're making the money. It's like, boom. But then whenever something happens, you're like, oh my gosh, am I going to get laid off? And I never thought I was going to get laid off, because my degree is in supply chain and logistics. And, that's a booming market right now, because where do you see all the ships right now? They're stuck in trying to get into ports. And, we're now going through supply chain crisis and we're going through various things. But I feel like, my supervisor, she had 3 people on the list and she picked me. I was the only African-American person, but I felt like she picked me honestly because I spoke out in the vice president of supply chains meeting after the whole George Floyd incident when he asked me what my stance was with racism. And I gave him my personal story, me being multicultural. And then I gave him my professional story. And 1 week later, I got a $20,000 salary increase. But then a few months later, I got laid off. So I'm like, really? Okay.
You think there was any correlation?
In my heart of heart, I do believe there was a correlation, but then I'm also a believer. So I'm religious as well as spiritual. And I feel like, I had to be pushed out of the door so I could really expand my wings and do the things that I'm doing now. And if I choose to go back into the corporate setting, I don't think I will go back into oil and gas because, to your point, it's not sustainable. The money is good, but I realized that money doesn't always bring you happiness, and jobs are not always secure. And so I really learned a hard lesson, because not only did that happen, but whenever I told them that I wanted to stay home to help take care of my father, who ends up passing away due to medical negligence, they didn't understand it. And the one thing my boss told me,
for their loss.
Thank you. She told me, I don't understand why you can't hire a nurse to take care of your father. And I said, I don't understand why it's not clicking with you. That
Man, you should have slapped her just right then and there. No, that's no excuse. That's messed up. Anyways.
Yeah. So when you mentioned biotech, I was like, yes, that is an industry that is recession proof. It's not going away. But I do want to just tell you, as well as the listeners and the viewers, not to necessarily place all your eggs in one basket. And with you, you're definitely diversifying your streams of income because you have cryptocurrency, you're in the biotech industry, you also are tapping into comedy and etc. So are you doing anything else besides comedy, biotech, cryptocurrency, anything that is going to bring in that passive income and really diversify your streams of income?
Right now, just those. I was doing Grubhub and Postmates before, and actually, it's kind of a blessing that I don't know, something happened with my car and I couldn't deliver with them anymore. So now I have all this free time on my weekends. So I don't think I would have picked up podcasting if it wasn't for that. So just to, relate on those type of stories. So I think everything happens for a reason. But yeah, right now, those are my streams of income. Just hopefully both of these things, podcasting and this crypto, could hit so I could leave this job. Not that I hate my job. I love it. And my boss is really cool. I'm just, sometimes when you think about everything in the grand scheme of things, like, just like you were saying, like, basically everybody is disposable. So it's just hard to put my eggs in, all in one basket, especially the older I'm getting and I'm learning about investments, money, things that actually matter, instead of just thinking about going out to the club or whatever. So yeah, I just hope and pray that I make the right investments, that I put money in the right coins. You know what I'm saying?
And you will. And the fact that you started now versus people who haven't started, you're ahead of the curve, especially to your point, since you said crypto is definitely booming. You said it used to be like $100 and now it's like $60,000. So imagine someone who wants to get in, but they don't have that capital to really invest right now. So they're looking for the next big thing that is upcoming where they could invest, and just pray that it hits big. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes ignorance is really bliss. Like, I wish I would have listened to some of the informal mentors early on in my life, because when I got involved in corporate, I started in real estate, and I was doing it in high school, and I worked for a broker, and she told me, hey, you should get your real estate license. And I told people I was young and naive, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And man, if I had my real estate license right now, y'all, I will be cashing out. It would have helped me when I bought my first house, because when you're in real estate, you actually save some money off the top. But I said, you know what? everything happens for a reason. And if it's meant to be, it will be. But also never dismiss somebody who is giving you feedback, because in my opinion, I believe feedback is a gift. You take what applies to you and you run with it. And what doesn't apply for you in that moment, thank the person that they cared enough and put it in your back pocket, because you never know when a life circumstance or issue will arise where you need that feedback to help you get to the next level. And me being a millennial, but also married to someone who is not a millennial, it's just very important that you take all things into consideration in this day and age, because right now we have very pivotal moments that are going on, Julius, such as the Great Resignation, where people are saying no to corporate, they're saying no to that 9 to 5, they're starting their businesses, whether it's an LLC, a S Corp, sole proprietorship, or whatever, because they want to make sure they have that time to spend with their family, because the pandemic, taught us a lot. A lot of businesses were closed, but a lot of businesses were also birthed. We're learning about, digital money now, because some places that you go there, they have signs up that we're in a coin shortage. So you need to have exact money, because if not, you're not going to probably get your change back. Another thing that's going on right now is, mothers are leaving the workforce because, daycare is very high and they feel like, okay, I could stay at home and take care of my child for a cheaper rate. And sometimes people don't even trust daycares because of all the things we've seen on the media with abuse. And then we have your industry, which is biotech, where some people are waging war with the pharmaceutical companies, because we know pharmaceutical companies are pushing certain drugs to doctors, and doctors are pushing those drugs on individuals, and everyone is getting their hand greased with payments, and they're getting a kickback, in my opinion. And when you have someone, like in my opinion, who goes into the hospital for something as minute as maybe their blood pressure being elevated too high, or maybe, their diabetes is out of control, and then they end up being paralyzed from the waist down, i.e. my dad, something's not adding up. Or you find out that, they gave my dad the wrong freaking medication, but why do we have to find out whenever, my dad got paralyzed from the waist down, or whatever the case may be? I mean, it's complete BS. So we have so many things going on, and it's a wake-up call to all of us to use the brain that we've been given and really educate ourselves on what's going on. Don't just necessarily jump on the bandwagon because everyone else is doing it, but do our due diligence.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that.
So toxic tangents, that's what you preach. The name of your podcast. You have a lot of things where you really unpack those opinions that you share, Julius. So I want you to walk us through some other things that are near and dear to your heart, and then we're going to wind down.
Near and dear as far as what? I could go many different directions.
So I guess since cryptocurrency is your passion right now and just letting that hit big, so give us some tips for those people out there who want to know something about cryptocurrency and maybe an easy way that they could get in if they necessarily don't have the capital.
First, I would say just a simple Google search. It's not, it's nothing too crazy. That's the great thing about right now is we're in the information age, right? So we're inundated with so much information all the time. There's Google, YouTube, etc. It's great. I would say if you want to get into it, Coinbase, that's what I started off on. There's a lot of people that hate Coinbase. Just as a side note, it's because a while ago somebody hacked them and a lot of people lost their money and they did not get it back. Kind of same way that people hack these other financial institutions. So always keep that in mind, is your crypto is never completely safe until you take it off of one of those exchanges into what's called a cold storage wallet. I won't go all the way into that, but I would say just start with the basics, download Coinbase or crypto.com, Kraken, whatever, and get you some Bitcoin. You can even get Bitcoin on Cash App, or I think Robinhood too. So it's definitely becoming more and more popular. I would say start with the big two, Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's some other big coins out there, Solana, for instance. Definitely start with those. And the reason I say that, they will go up. A year from now, that price is going to be higher. Trust me. But whatever you do and whatever advice somebody gives you, do your own due diligence. The reason I say that is because a lot of these newer coins, nobody completely knows, right? Because it's new, this is volatile, right? And so it's a double-edged sword. Because it's volatile, you can make relatively big gains in a relatively short period of time, but you can also lose that investment quickly as well. So that's the great thing about it. You can steer clear of that if you just, like I said, do your research, learn how to read these charts, same way you read stocks. And I guess I'll just end on this note. We're in the last days of making those big gains in a relatively short period of time because of all the regulation that's going to come. So I'll, like I said, hey, look, I could go on a tangent all day. That's why I started a podcast.
So the one thing I want to chime in too with, for those of you who are interested in getting into cryptocurrency, Bitcoins, make sure you factor in cybersecurity, because hackers are real and they are looking for ways to easily get access to your assets without you even realizing it. So whatever you invest in, make sure you have certain securities in place to ensure that your data is protected, your money is protected, and then you're also being mindful of your time. Another thing is due diligence. I can't stress that enough. It's so important that you do your due diligence. And if you still have questions, make sure you plug in with a credible SME. A SME is a subject matter expert who has been involved in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin for a long time. Look at their track records, check their portfolio out, look at their ROI, their return on investment. Ask them, what are your KPIs, your key performance indicators? What are your metrics? And really drill into them so they could be either an informal mentor or a formal mentor to you. And you don't know what you don't know. So never be afraid of asking questions. Ask the right questions. And I believe that no question is stupid or dumb. It's just mainly for you to educate yourself, to get more knowledge, and really tap into a subject that you are really interested in and where you want to grow personally and professionally. And if somebody sees that you are willing to go the extra mile, they're going to be open to helping you. But if they don't see that you're serious about learning it, they're not going to waste your time, nor are they going to waste their time, because everyone knows that time is money. And you know what? I want to get paid for my time just as much as you do. So I definitely want to tell you to tap in with Julius. And Julius, how can the listeners as well as viewers connect with you on social media? And what is your call to action?
If you want to connect with me on social media, it's at Toxic Tangents Pod on Instagram. You could also feel free to email me, toxictangentspod@gmail.com. And I just want to encourage everybody, tap into the show, listen, give it a listen. You're going to laugh, you're going to learn. I'm having high level conversations, low level conversations, because, we all like to be entertained. You could stream Toxic Tangents podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, all that.
And there you have it, listeners and viewers of GEMS podcast with Genesis Amaris Kemp. You just heard Julius Johnson with Toxic Tangents. And in this segment, we talked about cryptocurrency. We also talk about biotech, his love for comedy, as well as some other gems dropped throughout the segment. Make sure you connect with us on this podcast, wherever you're listening. Hit that subscribe button, and on the YouTube channel, join our community where you'll always be gifted with amazing segments by amazing guests that I have on this platform. If you want to hear a topic that I haven't spoken about, make sure you send me an email. All of my contact information will be in the show notes, as well as Julius. And until we chat next time, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Have yourself an amazing day, and make sure you learn something new today, because knowledge is power. And without that, we are not growing mentally, physically, or emotionally. So make sure you stay ahead of the curve and get in where you fit in, y'all. Signing out, Genesis Amaris Kemp.